I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Perry Municipal Authority, June 3rd at 6:15. The roll call, please.
Fuller.
Here.
Bond.
Here.
Ahern.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
White.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Wines.
Here.
Stroller.
Here. Thank you very much. I do declare a quorum. The invocation this evening will be by Councilman Ahern.
Thank you. If you guys will pray with me. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance, your wisdom, and your support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussions. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, God, as we make decisions that affect the residents of this community, and continue to remind us all that what we do here tonight, let it bring honor and glory to you. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Item number 1, the consent agenda. The only item is to receive the minutes of the special meeting we had.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Fuller.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item number 4, comments from those assembled pertaining to the items on the PMA agenda.
If I could just do a point of order, I think that based on our last meeting, we decided not to pass any rules, but I did write what I thought was the rule that we discussed at the bottom here, and I repeated it over at the city side. Is everybody okay with that language? We'll just keep that moving forward each time?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Item number 5, proclamations, accommodations, reports, and inquiries by the governing body. Seeing none. Item 6, new business. Item 7, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Fuller.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to call order meeting of the City Council of the City of Perry, June 3rd, 6:17. Roll call, please.
Fuller.
Here.
Bond.
Here.
Ahern.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
White.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Wines.
Here.
Stroller.
Here, I do declare a quorum. Item number 1 is the consent agenda. There's 3 different items.
Motion to approve items A, B, and C on the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Fuller.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Stroller.
Yes, thank you. Item number 4, comments from those assembled pertaining to the items on the city agenda. Seeing none, we'll move to item number 5, proclamations, accommodations, reports, and inquiry by the governing body. Seeing none, we'll move to item number 6, city manager's remarks. Larry?
Thanks, sir. Great weekend for BMAC. Hope you had the opportunity to drive out there and see all the cars parked everywhere on R&N and across the street to the north. Just on the grass where they're not supposed to, they're parked there. We'll have to address that one of these days, but it was great to see all the enthusiasm and all the attendance there. Was really thankful that the rain held off. We were really concerned about that, especially on Sundays. It was a good weekend. 33 teams from different states were around. They ate at our restaurants. We had one restaurant on Sunday that had very limited menu options. You could order number 1 or you could order number 1. It was kind of it kind of got to that point. So we're real thankful for that. So they ate at our restaurants, and there were a couple of teams that stayed at our hotels as well. Found out today that BMAC has also been selected to host regionals again for Oklahoma Kids Baseball Association. This will be the 4th time that they've done that. We
That's
continue-
great.
Isn't that
That's
great?
great.
We continue to really get good positive feedback from those that come and play here, so we're really thankful for that. And Caleb, would you like to use some of my time to mention anything that you may have on your open
The open square?
square here?
Sure.
Can you please go
Yeah.
through, Caleb?
The open square is going to be June 13th. It's a great opportunity to have like firsthand experience and check out everything that's going on downtown. There's been a lot happening. Everyone's asking about when, why, what, and where. So this is your chance to come, and I would highly recommend for everyone to, because not only do you get that opportunity, but then also see the role that Main Street plays in a lot of things that have happened downtown. So.
Very good.
And we did have a great event Friday as well, the Mingle on Main on Friday. We partnered with Relay for Life and had tons of people that came down, enjoyed some food from food trucks and music, and then Huckleberry Finn afterwards. So it was a great night.
Very good. Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Any questions on the city manager messenger or something? Really excited about BMAC, and we still have a number of really tournaments coming out for the rest of the year. Thank you, sir.
I got one thing to say about BMAC, because it's been addressed this last couple of weeks with Jim Davis Sanitation. I went out, my grandson played in that tournament all weekend. So I went out Saturday, and Lee Harmon, our manager, said, man, they didn't show up Thursday to empty the dumpsters. They didn't show up Friday to empty the dumpsters. Their days are Monday, Thursday. And so it's 8 o'clock, I think it was 8 o'clock Saturday night, somewhere in there, 7 o'clock. Lee approached me and said, this is the scenario. I called City Hall, and they called up there, and then guys said, sure, we'll dump it Friday. Sorry we didn't make it. So they didn't. And so I picked up the phone and called Jim Davis personally. And they sent a truck down immediately Saturday night at 8 o'clock, all the way from Tomball to come empty those dumpsters. So I really appreciate, being able to have connection with him, to get hold of him and make sure something got done. So I just wanted you guys to know about that, because he promised us he'd do whatever it took, So it was a failure that didn't get picked up earlier in the week, or we wouldn't have had that problem, but he made it right, so I really appreciated that. All right, item number 6, consider appointment of qualified person to council person for Ward 2, Seat 2. Are any appointments or any nominations?
Do we decide, do we make no decisions on handling it differently, or are we gonna
Just
handle it?
gotta know what the nominations are first.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to nominate Amber Dilbeck.
Second.
Please.
What's the last name?
Dilbeck?
Amber?
I would also like to nominate Brett Nations for that seat.
Did we have appointment cards? Okay.
Is there a second for Brett Nation? All right, that won't happen then.
Are there any more nominations?
Any more nominations, or that's it? Roll call?
Culnern?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Ahern?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Morrell?
Yes.
Wines?
Yes.
Stroller?
Yes. Thank you very much. You ready? No. Item number 8, call a special meeting for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the FY 2019-2020 city budget and its related funds, accounts, and trust authorities, providing publication notice for such hearing at least 5 days before the date of such budget hearing, setting the date for the budget hearing for June 13th, 2019 at 5:30 PM at the City Council Chambers. Larry, you want to handle this?
It's a statutory requirement that we have this public hearing, and we wanted to give enough time and notice for you guys to make certain that you're able to be here.
I have a question about that. Thursdays, I believe, are the only days that you're back in here. I can't make the 13th. I was just curious if the 20th was an option. I'm out of town for a prior.
Yeah, the problem is that you have to have that hearing prior to the 15th, and then the budget has to be approved prior to the 23rd. We haven't put it in the newspaper yet.
No, because
So, I mean, you can do any day so long as we can get, the newspaper publishes twice now. So any day that we can get 5 days notice in the newspaper, we could have it. So what days would that be? You can go in Wednesday,
Wednesdays
right?
or Fridays, Saturdays, Wednesdays or Saturdays you're published.
So it could go in this Wednesday, so it could be,
Okay, is there time to put it in this Wednesday if we give it to you tomorrow?
If we can get it first thing in the morning, I'll make an exception just to have the day.
okay, so then
And that-
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so you could have it, you wouldn't count. Yeah, you could have it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week.
I was gonna say that it won't matter. Those are the days I'm gone.
Those are
I
the
leave
days
the
you're
11th
gone.
and get back on the 13th.
You're,
Questions, do it
what
on the
about,
13th.
what about the next day, the 17th, are you still gone?
The 17th?
Well, 17th, so we
After.
So
Yeah,
the
that's
meeting.
Oh, wait, wait,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm looking at the wrong date, I'm sorry, the 14th.
I'm here on the 14th. I
That's
fly
a
back
Friday.
that night.
Yeah, that'd be Friday, I mean, you could do a Friday noon meeting or a Friday, whatever,
It'd have to be Friday evening.
Yeah. Right. Could everyone else be here?
I can do it.
So, we can sure move it. 5:30 on Friday?
That works for me.
We
Sorry.
just don't want anybody to miss out.
They are fine.
It was,
You go through one.
Does that
you'll
mean
go-
dinner's
You'll
on
go
me?
through one and you'll be going,
Eat
man,
at
I wish we'd have done it on Thursday.
You should have missed that
I'm
one.
sorry.
yeah.
I didn't realize I needed to.
it was conflicting with the open square thing too, so that
Oh,
won't be at the same time as that.
Okay.
So we said Friday, the 14th at 5:30?
Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you all.
And you can be here, Bryce.
Yeah.
Meredith, is that gonna be conflict for someone for you guys?
We will, either Russ or I will be here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it will be on June 14th at 5:30 PM, right here at the council chambers then. Thank you.
Oh, you want to make a motion and,
Well,
Should I make a
we weren't,
motion?
I mean, we'd make a motion, but do we have to? Because we weren't, it's changing the agenda item? I mean, we weren't
oh
taking
no,
the action anyway.
oh no, you can do that. Yeah,
It does
set
say
the
set the
time,
date.
date, place, of the public hearing. I mean, since we have it on the agenda, yeah. I would think that's what we do.
Would you like?
Make a motion, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still moved. Is that all right, or do I need? to-
Yes, no, that's okay. I think that's enough.
Is there a second?
I second.
Roll call, please.
Color.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ihara.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wise.
Yes.
Strong.
Yes, thank you. Item number 9, consider approval of ordinance number 2019-10 of the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 17, Article 2 of the Perry Municipal Code 2018 supplement by the addition of a new section 17-221 entitled All Municipal Utility Rates Annually Subject to Increase or Decrease in the Consumer Price Index for all urban customers, providing for an automatic increase or decrease in the all municipal utility rates to become effective on each successive July 1st based on the increase or decrease in the consumer price index for all urban customers, Class B, in the South region for March 1st as compared to the previous March 1st, and without any required action by the City Council for implementation, further providing that the increase or the decrease in the utility rates shall be in addition to any increase or decrease in utility rates approved by any municipal ordinance, providing for a PEVR, savings, codification, severability, and declaring an emergency. Sir?
You know, municipalities are really no different than our household or any other business, in that we're all susceptible to price increases. And in the past, we've asked for increases in utility rates that are significant. You have this rate increase sheet in front of you. You can see what the history has been. And the ones that have not passed, for the most part, have been significantly higher. And this is a little different approach. This would be based upon the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, as rated from March 1 to March 1, year to year. This particular year, it's 2.1%. What this will help us do from an operational standpoint is in these years where we don't get increases in utility rates, then we sort of get behind, and now all of a sudden we have to catch up. So that's one of the reasons for the larger, more significant increases. And as you know, we rely upon sales tax and utility sales to fund our operations across the organization. And with this increase, what we're hoping to accomplish is that it will allow us to maintain our operations at our current level. It doesn't involve any funding for capital projects. It's a whole different deal. Streets, whole different deal. This would just allow us to maintain where we are right now, year to year. So that's our recommendation.
Can I ask a question regarding that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, they passed out a sheet that shows our rates, the increases in 4 different areas in the last 5 years. I just wanted y'all to look at that too. Go ahead, Jerry, thank you.
This, just to make sure I'm understanding completely, this would happen as well as a possible rate increase on top of that. Is that right? Up or down on this, but.
If we chose to do a rate increase, this would be automatic.
Right. Right.
And then if for some reason, like for instance, the 2% increase in the garbage service, the trash service, this would be in addition to that. If we kept on pace and raised it 2% for every year that with the contract with Davis Sanitation, this would be on top of that.
Right.
But the thought is that this would allow the government to plan, you know, each year to see, you would know by March what it was. And we would be able to plan, and the thought would be that we wouldn't bring additional rate increases to the council, but we would work within that, but we would know that was coming, so that, you know, we could plan on that. That's really, it's kind of as a planning tool. It's kind of as, you know, letting the costs go up, so, you know, you've got a number. You know, why did you approve a rate increase? It's only an amount of the consumer price, price index, and of course it's only for those in the southern region. It's the exact one where they determine what the CPI is here. So, I mean, the answer this year is that, other than that solid waste one, which you'll decide whether you want to do that or not, you may decide not to, but you would certainly raise your eyebrows if anything else in the future came across, because, the thought would be we would want you to live with this, and it's kind of a trade-off. So, I mean, I think that's what the thought is. We have talked about doing this. In fact, I went back to draft this and found that I had already drafted it. Now, I changed it a little bit. You got to change everything you wrote, you know. But this was already in my computer. We had done, but it wasn't presented, was it? I mean, I don't remember. It was written last year.
Yeah, I
but-
don't think we presented.
Yeah,
We
I don't
talked
think it was
about it, I
presented,
think.
and the reason is that we did the budget hearing, and we didn't get the budget that we were asking to, and we struck all the items, and then we never brought any of the ordinances back. That's what happened. So I did write it last year, and it was supposed to come, but we never brought that back out, so.
What is the most that CPI has ever varied year in and year out?
If you go back and look historically, back in the 80s, I mean, there were, ranges, but I follow this for a lot of my communities, and we're typically less than 3%. We have a right around a 3%. This year, it's 2.1. So it is based upon the U.S. Department of Labor. So it's a national assessment of what your goods and services are going up as a community. And I would say, for your all's consideration as you look at this, when we talk about a 1% increase on our utilities, just for round numbers, about $100,000 per percentage, okay? So the 2.1% CPI, which is what this would equate to this year, is about $200,000. You'll say, well, why can't we just pick that up in sales tax? Why can't we find that someplace else? You all know with the change in businesses with Walmart, things like that, our sales tax has not only kind of tried to stay stable, but we've had some dips. A 2%, the $200,000 that we would generate from a CPI in this year specifically would require a 20% increase in annual sales tax. Year over year, we would have to grow sales tax 20%.
Each year.
Correct. The highest increase in sales tax that I have seen this year across our multiple 40-plus municipalities is 14%. And that was astronomical. So a 20% sales tax increase in a year is pretty unheard of. So you've got to look at your revenue sources about to see where's your capacity, where's the opportunity to be able to keep our cost consistent. By keeping our cost consistent, we still have to have revenue coming in, because we cannot, when we look at personnel, when we look at materials, those things are going up. You look at your budget, healthcare by itself is going up 4%. These are the things that we have to continue to fund. We have to have a source for those. That's where the CPI comes into effect.
Meredith, how many cities that you guys deal with, I see you said something about 40-plus municipalities that have a CPI index for us?
It's already built in.
It's already built in.
You'd asked me to look for that, and I didn't have, I didn't get a full list out. I could name at least 6 off right now that I know it's just automatic.
Mhm.
That helps their community, like Bryce had said, to plan and to make sure that as we know that insurance is going to go up and all of those things that we use, materials and supplies, we're able to absorb that cost. So.
Why wouldn't we use the CPI as just a index for us as we're looking at what we need for a price increase or a utility increase on our community in general, and use it as one of our guidelines, but actually knowing what we need to increase by instead of just having an automatic increase on the utilities each year?
That's a really good question, and that would be the best, the best way to use that as a factor, and to use as a factor, when was the last time maybe the employees, got a raise, and maybe
Right.
and then what has the public done? Like they passed that penny sales tax for us. I mean,
And
they've
the
done.
usage tax.
They've done a lot, and weight that in. It's just that, and that is a good point. I mean, that is a good point. It's just that councils have historically been loath to raise, to raise rates. I think that this graph, shows some of it. It certainly shows it last year, but even, the year before, there were a couple, certainly nothing in electric, where, electric is the main one. I mean, the amounts raised in the other ones don't come close to what even a 1% would do in electric. And I think the answer is in a perfect world, that would be good. This is easy, okay? This allows the city to plan, allows the city, and we have all these meetings with the FOP and fire, and we can't tell them, we start meeting in May, and we can't tell them anything in May or in April. We start meeting in April, May, June. We really can't tell them anything because we haven't had our budget hearing, about whether there will be any available money. And of course, we have a duty to negotiate in good faith with them and to, come up with some contract, and it's supposed to come up, you're supposed to have it done by the, end of the fiscal year. That's really all I could say, that councils have been loath in the past to consider this. It's been really tough, it's been politicized, and I guess all we're saying is, if you could just get us our, the cost, the increase in the cost of business, we'll try to work within that limit and plan in that way. But I can't say there's anything wrong with what you've said. I mean, it's a good point. It's just that when the rubber meets the road, it's difficult. It's very difficult to get rate increases passed, or at least historically it's been. And yet costs keep going up. But you're right. There's a whole factor of things, including the biggest one that the public did approve, that sales tax, and they did it in a really significant way. They really went to bat for the for the community. I think other facts are that other than collective bargaining groups, employees haven't gotten anything. Well, they got health insurance, haven't got anything in 2 years. The year before that, I think the increase was 1.5%, and that really came in February. You didn't get that at the year that the council came back.
That was 2016.
Yeah, in 16 and did that. So there's lots and lots of factors. For us, it might be better to plan, but in a perfect world, as one point in a whole group of points, that's a perfect world.
I myself I like this better than knowing that we come to the table and decide that we've got to do rate increases, because that's painful for all of us. It's very negative. And if we had an index that we could look at and have an idea of what is coming up, other than pulling numbers, which a lot of people, I think, including myself for many years before I got on council, feel like that's what it is you're just pulling a percentage out of the air to raise the rates to get the income.
Well, it's how much money we need, and then we back into the rates.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean that is the way that it has been. That's well said.
And that seems backwards to me.
Well, I could say on a very small scale, as a business owner for 10 years, one of the biggest lessons that I learned in the first 2 or 3 years is it's best to increase in a very gradual consumer price index way, as opposed to holding off and then hitting people really hard. And that's what we did the first 3 years. I kept saying, we're not going to raise prices, we're not going to raise prices. And then after about the third or fourth year, you go from something that costs $1 to something that now costs $1.75. And people are like, what are you doing? I should have raised it a quarter every year. I don't use the consumer price index, but I gotta be smart enough to understand that prices go up. I mean, I just get an email today that pork's gonna go out the gazoo here in the next 3 to 6 months. Well, guess what? All my sandwiches have bacon on them. Well, I mean, something's gonna have to happen, so you can say, well, just raise the prices on the ones that have bacon. No, because everything goes up. So it's better for me to say, whatever that is, 2%, 1% across the board, that's what I've got to do.
Well, you have one protein group that raises prices, and the others think, well, they raised it, so we're gonna do the same thing.
Exactly.
So it's a domino effect from that.
It is, and it's a very small scale, but that's what I've learned as a business person, that it's better to just hit it. You know, and there, some years, I would say that we probably held off some, but for the most part, it's best to incrementally move along. And people understand that. It helps with my planning as well. And it tends to cover the expected, as you said, when they say there's a price increase in one area in food, trust me, there's gonna be a price increase in every area of food.
I've been, this will be my 10th budget to go through, and it's never easy. I mean, because I have to pay the bill too, and my bill goes up, and I know there's other people here in town, their bills go up. But it seems like to me that every year we come in here and we as a council can never really decide. I mean, we just throw something on the wall, and that's what kind of sticks there, and let's see if we can work that, and we can't ever, all of us as a group aren't ever happy. And then last year, I'll use it for example, we come in with wanting to raise some rates, because we really, you can look at the sheet, there weren't any rates raised last year, so we're a year behind now. And the public's opinion is very valuable to me, and they come at us really hard. And I don't want to use the word intimidated, but they intimidated us to not make that stand and to just accept last year's budget, 2017's budget. So I feel like that if we have something in place already and the public understands that, it's a whole lot easier to take. And it will give us something to operate and function on. You know, we do work for our constituents, but we also have to understand that we have a business that we're trying to make work here also. And things are going up, and the people we buy from, you know, they're not asking us how much money you got. This is the cost of fuel, or this is the cost of your equipment that we have to fix, and those prices are constantly going up, just like we are at home, like Brian said, you know. And it's just a whole lot easier for me to take in a situation like this than it would for us to, and it relieves a lot of pain, because we got Meredith and Russ and Larry and Bryce and Dixie and all these people in the accounting part of the business trying to figure out how to make it work. And they already know ahead of time how much money we're gonna have this next year to work with if everything progresses. And the thing, not that it ever happens, I don't know. I'm not gonna say yes or no, but it says in this ordinance, it says if there's a decrease in the CPI, we will have to decrease our rates. And I think all of you understand, if we set the rates, we're never gonna back up. I mean, you just don't do that, you know?
Exactly.
And so I really like the idea. I think Jamie has a very valid concern and point, but I've been through this 10 times, and it's tough. It's very tough.
I understand, but I also run product or have run product at the factory. I've been in sales for several years. I mean, I understand you have to increase as you go, but at the same time, what if 2.1 for this year or next year, whatever, what if that's not enough? And then we have to go back and go, okay, it's not only that, but now we're also 1% short, and we're gonna have to go ask for that on top of it. Instead of using that as a index to go, okay, it's 3% what we need to be able to run the city like we need to. And now we're gonna have to go above and beyond what they're telling us is or could be the CPI of what we need, or we have to cut budgets deeper than what we're prepared to go do.
Then in that situation, I think you've got justification for a portion of that increase. You know, it's already done, it's automatic. People have planned for it in their personal budgets. I know that my utilities are gonna go up the amount of CPI. And if the city says, we want to hire 20 new people because we have a whole new department or something, then that we have to justify to the public.
And you're right, that occurred last year. That is a very good point. It occurred last year. I mean, we didn't raise, as you can tell from the footnote, December 17th. You know, we did raise the rates, but we raised the rates and we committed that income stream to phase 3 and phase 4, which we, you know, certainly certainly needed to do, given all the flooding and stuff that we've had. But, that's really progressive thinking. What if it's not enough? We haven't had a whole lot of that. What if it's not enough? It's pretty much been just eke out whatever we can get through. The one thing that's nice, and the reason that this is presented today and not consistent with your hearing. Why is it today? Why isn't it, with the hearing? Well, we did that the last time. We didn't bring something, we didn't bring the ordinances up. We brought the budget. And really if this thing passes, I really think that our task will be to bring a budget in that meets this, right?
Absolutely.
And so then we don't have to go through the problems. I mean, we have right now, how much under our current budget, we're, $800,000 high?
Correct.
But we would bring to your budget hearing a budget that works with this, right? Isn't that what we're gonna try to do?
That's the plan.
I mean, bring one that works, so it won't be like last year where, you could decide, let's shift money around, but we would bring something where the expected income that's coming in equals the amount of the budget, and then that's something that I think that you could expect in the future, and that we ought to be probably held to. And if there's some cost cutting that we need to do, we're going to need to do some cost cutting, because we're going to try not to bring you, additional rate increases.
The justification.
I mean, that's the pseudo promise, that we're wanting to make. And I say that because there's always extenuating circumstances, although, I really think we have probably issued all the indebtedness that we need to do. I don't think we're gonna have another, adder until something comes off, an adder to rates or something that's gonna go to, I don't think that's gonna happen until some sales tax start falling off or some utility rates start falling off. So, that's just the thought.
Well, Jamie brings up a good point, and in the fact that, we'd love, if we were to adopt this ordinance, we know exactly how the index is gonna act, or when we see what the index is gonna know, we have a feel for the money we have. The ultimate failure of that is, like she said, if it falls short, and then you've got to come back in after you've adopted this and do an adder or increase the rate, you're going to get crucified.
Well, if you don't do this, then you gotta come up and say 3%.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say-
it's the exact same
It's the
thing.
exact same thing, it's where it's coming out from. If we fall 5% short, which that'd be ridiculous, I'm using that as an extreme example, and you don't adopt this, then you're gonna get hit with 5,
Right,
right?
yes. But I feel like,
I'd rather keep it steady, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and if we had to increase, which it sounds as if, obviously, barring extenuating circumstances, we're gonna try to work within that 2%, then the chances of us having to do that are slim, and if I had to raise it 0.5%, I would be okay with that if you have to. It happens, we're running a business, it happens in business. I can't control the market, we can't control healthcare. It's ridiculous for us to believe that we can just be steady here. We cannot be steady here. This is a business. Bread doesn't cost what it did in 1969. Healthcare doesn't cost what it cost 2 years ago. We're running a business. And I would prefer to run it by allowing the people that are the accountants to know pretty much what that budget's gonna look like in March or April, so that when a budget is presented to us, it's simply not just an approval, we have a responsibility to look at that, but to be able to maybe move money here and there, as opposed to say, well, we're $200,000 short, so let's add 2% to water, let's go 3% on electric, and we're just shooting in the dark. I've only been here twice, and we've shot in the dark twice, because that's what you have to do.
And as far as from where I started 10 years ago, we had more employees, and the city is really pretty lean on the number of employees. I don't know that we can give up any more. And I do know for a fact some of our equipment, because we've had Brian comes and he's really good about finding grants, but our sewer and water department, they've got some really old equipment. And what happens is if we keep going at the rate we're going, that stuff keeps getting used and used and used and used, and it deteriorates. And one of these days, some of those departments are gonna drop a bombshell on us because we can't even function the department anymore because we don't have any money.
It extends to facilities as well.
Yeah.
You know, Brian's got a leak in his building. Fire's got a couple of different leaks in their building.
Well, I know for a fact that Dixie, in I don't know how many years, she's been asking for some remodel in City Hall where they duct tape down the carpet. And our City Hall is in terrible condition, and we need some money to do that, you know? And the farther you let that stuff go and the farther you let it go, it just, every year it gets worse. And that's my fear, one of these days, we're gonna have to make up some pretty serious ground. And I believe this will help us.
And you'll see that the budget that we're gonna present is a very lean budget. I brought Chief Brand in, and I basically put him through a test like you would go to an eye exam. You know, is this one better, or this one, you know, you like one or two, or, you know, which one? So we got to the point where he either had bunker gear, his choices were bunker gear at $10,000, or did he want 3 computers for $2,500 that helps them with their record keeping and administration and all that legal stuff they have to do. And he said, I'll take the computers. So it's safety versus administrative stuff. So that's what we're down to now. Buildings don't fix themselves, roads don't fix themselves. It's just one of those things that we're not replacing our equipment. We're not replacing and repairing our facilities. And I welcome you and encourage you to pay a visit to our departments and see exactly what we're working on. Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2019-10.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 9, ordinance 2019-10 on the floor. Any further discussion?
Can I
Yeah.
speak? The concern I still have, it just goes back to my very first question, is what that max, I mean, like your example, Brian, you said 222, well, it's whatever that is, and I think you said you've seen some 3s and maybe higher in the past.
The higher ones have been in the 80s. So in the past, let's go recent history, 5 years. It has been hovering right around that 3%. I don't think I've seen anything more than 3.2.
That's my concern, is just what that max could be, as well as taking into account what you guys were saying, that asking twice in a year is gonna be a whole lot better than asking once.
Well, let's take Brian's pork example. If it hadn't been for the flu or pig flu in China where they had to kill millions of pigs, that affects the market. We don't know. We can't, our crystal ball doesn't work quite that far out. So will there be hiccups? Yeah, absolutely. But we're certainly going to do what we can to make certain that we do what we can and live with what we have. Knowing full well that we're a full-service city of 5,000 people, that's a full-service city. That's a positive.
These are always tough decisions every year, no matter what.
They are, dude. You know, and I got to thinking, you know, last year in the budget, we didn't have anything to any increases, you know. About the only thing that we can cut is services. And our citizens are used to the services that we provide now. And if you don't have the money to move forward and run your business, those services is what's gonna start hurting. So do we cut overtime for employees? If we have a sewer issue, we tell Vernon he can't go out that night and fix that, or we have a utility or electricity go out, so we tell Brian he can't go out because we don't have the money to provide for the overtime. The overtime is one of our largest expenses. And so, anyway, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Water and sewer, are they negative right now?
I'm sorry, I was trying to look at the average.
Water and sewer, are they negative right now?
Are we losing money in water and sewer?
Right,
Yeah.
Based upon the budget that we are currently working under, that we're currently working on, yes.
Does the 2.1 put us above that?
No, we need to look at some costs, we're still kind of working, I mean, like Bryce said, we're $800,000 short right now, so there's quite a bit of work that I know Larry and Russ have even worked on today.
Right,
So,
yeah, but the 2.1 will help.
yes, the two.
But
need-
we are gonna deliver a budget on, if this passes.
Yes, that is the plan.
Okay.
That is the plan.
Yeah.
Well,
I got it. We've got to have some place to start. We've got to have a consistency that we can rely on in order to plan for the future of this community.
And if you all remember right, the last two financial reports that Russ gave us, sales tax was down, a lot in the last 2 months. He said it was the worst 2 months he's seen in many years. And so I hope that doesn't continue, but who knows where that's gonna go, so.
And if I remember correctly, motel, hotel was down also.
Yes, sir.
Derek, I'm trying to verify this, but it looks like based upon 2018, the average rate of CPI over the last 10 years, this is based on 2018 data, 1.91%. So less than 2%.
yeah.
So that's based upon 2018 data. So that goes back to 2018.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Kolar,
No.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
No.
Moore,
Yes.
Lyons,
No.
Stroller.
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have enough for the emergency. Well, I mean, you
No.
can try the emergency.
Motion on emergency?
Second. Are you making the motion?
No, I just was
No,
calling for a motion.
I'll motion the emergency. Second.
So we,
It passed, so there's no reason not to. It's just gonna cost us more money if we don't pass the emergency. Good. Roll call.
Kolar,
yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Lyons, yes, Stroller.
Yes. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 10. Before I read this in the record, down about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, it says 2% where it was in the letters, but then it says 25%. That's just an error. So it should be 2%. It's also in the ordinance that way, so we will change that, okay? Okay, item number 10. Consider approval of ordinance number 2019-11 of the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma, amending Chapter 18 of the Perry Municipal Code 2018 supplement by the amendment of Section 17-067E entitled Solid Waste Collection and Disposal Rates, providing for a 2% increase in the solid waste collection and disposal rates due to the 2% increase in the cost of providing solid waste collection and disposal service, providing for repealer savings, codification, severability, effective date, and declaring emergency. Now, you'll remember right, when Mr. Davis came talk to us about his service last council meeting, that came with a 2% increase with that option. And this is just passing that on into effect.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Colner.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
No.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
No.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Thank you. Motion on emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Colner.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. All right, item number 11. Consider approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Perry, Oklahoma City approving the city's group health care insurance plan, namely with Stillwater Collaborative Care Plan, approximating $1,025,175.96 as the maximum liability for the plan, approximating $62,000 to be used to fund the healthcare reserve formerly expended for the worksite benefit plan, authorizing the standard to provide $10,000 term life insurance policy for the employees, establishing the rate to be paid by members of the plan, providing for such changes shall be effective on July 1st, 2019, reauthorizing the cafeteria plan, including a medical and/or dependent care flexibility spending account effective July 1st, 2019, and approving the phrase benefit administrators as broker. Larry?
Bryce didn't hold back on you, did he?
Do what? I know. His attorney.
Bryce didn't hold back on him today.
That should actually be, at the end of that, instead of broker, it should be third-party administrator. That is in here. Let me see what it says in the, well, it says the same thing in the title. So that should be third-party administrator. And then, let me look if we, yes, oh no. And it's on section 7.2, so third-party administrator. So, yeah, as amended. This, it went up 4%. The major thing is if you accept that, we could keep employee, the city pays for the employees' premium for healthcare. The employees pay close to $300 for family coverage. And it's spouse and or as many children. It's either you're by yourself or you have a spouse or as many children as you have. We don't divide it up more than that. And we would have to add, we talk about adding $15 per month in monthly premium, so that would raise that employee contribution to $304.30. Now, we're still meeting with police and fire collective bargaining units. So, I mean, theoretically, to be in good faith, we probably don't want to approve this yet because, you know, we're still talking to them about what their contribution would be. I'll tell you, when we met with them, neither the police or fire department seemed to have any issue with this. But it would be nice if we could finalize those negotiations with them. And quite frankly, due to your previous action on that, on the ordinances, the rate ordinances, I think that very well may be possible. That was something that we were all looking for. So this is really just presented, to you, to look at, to discuss. And we'll bring this back at the next meeting, hopefully, maybe with a couple contracts, if we can, with fire and police. So, we did want to put these issues in front of you, 4% increase in healthcare, and that's how we're talking about doing. Do you know what that number is?
36,000.
36,000? Okay.
We have 72 employees that are in this plan. Interesting enough, there's 36 that are just employees coverage, and 36 that are family, employee and family. So we only have those two tiers. We don't divide it up any further than that. And also the $10,000 of term life insurance policy has been standard for a number of years. So this is not something that's new. It's where, you know, we're not increasing it, not decreasing it. It's something that's sort of been convention now for us for a number of years.
Any further questions?
We can, one other point, this is a bit of a self-insurance plan, so we can report at some point, certainly by the end of the year, how well we fared, right?
If we can get, yes, that would be the goal.
Because we've been having a little trouble with a third-party
Yes.
administrator, but then we corrected that. And so at some point, and you guys ought to expect, well, how did that work with Stillwater? And we can tell you with regard to our claims, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to use any savings that we have to establish a reserve so that we can put that towards future ups and downs in healthcare, so we won't have to go, back, look at the general fund to see how it's paid, correct?
3-month run out after the end.
Go ahead, you said that.
We have a 3-month run out after the end of the plan year. Like the plan year ends in June, July, August, and September. People have, or providers, doctors' offices, or whatever, have to get those invoices turned in to insurance and get those paid. So hopefully by October, we would know where we stood for the end of June plan year.
Exactly, yes. That's what I said.
So we're really not asking for anything to do on that. We'll bring that back to you at the next meeting.
Any further questions?
Do we need to table that?
But you can continue it to the next meeting. That would be appropriate.
Motion to table until the next meeting.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kildare.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wise.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Thank you. Item 12, consider approval of payment for the following invoices to MKEC. Item A, $697.50 for construction support, 2018 street improvements, project pay apps, review and correspondence and cost estimates, DOT, permit renewal, and construction startup. We'll take these one at a time.
Motion to approve the invoice.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kildare.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wise.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Item B, $307.25 for the lodge sidewalk, cost estimate and exhibit.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Kildare.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wise.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Item number C, $1,049 for engineering services, survey services, 2018-2019 street improvements, Park and Park Drive and 8th Street design.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have one question. It seems like to me, every time we have a bill from MKEC, it has something to do with Park and Park Drive and 8th Street. Are we about done engineering that?
Well, it helps, We'd like to finish the engineering, get it done. There seems to be lately some some easement issues that we're trying to work out. So that's hopefully the last.
So I think we paid this bill like 4 times now.
8th Street's been on there quite a bit too.
Yeah. I went to the police and the fire both and said, I can't find Park and Park Drive, so they've told me 3 times where it's at, I still can't find it. One of them's down by Brian Wheatley's house, so. All right, roll call, please.
Kolar.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes, thank you. All right, item number 13, consider certain items pertaining to the AMR project. Item A, consider approval of contractor's application for pay number 1 to Utility Technology Services Incorporated in the amount of $451,956. This is this just like a time pay situation when they involved?
Right.
They paid so much, or they've installed so many, so we pay them?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way we put it in the contract.
Yeah.
We don't want to pay it at the end, we want to.
Correct.
You know, so, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And the invoices and everything that's tied up with this has been checked by Will Sheets and on it, yeah.
Item A, please.
Motion to approve payment number 1.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Kolar.
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Ahern.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Wines.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Item B, consider approval of change order number 1 to the AMR project contract with Utility Technology Services Incorporated, providing for an increase in the contract price from $1,465,155 to $1,474,155 for the addition and installation of 5 additional water meters.
Mr. Mayor,
It's water
it's
meters,
actually,
yeah.
it's actually 10 water meters. Is
No,
it not?
it's 5.
5
It's
each?
5 and the
Five
installation of 5.
Meters and the installation.
Okay, so you changed it back.
I changed it. You had 10.
I had
changed it to
10.
5.
Okay.
I was
Good.
fixing it.
Well, I was changing it back. Wasn't there a movie like that? I think it was a James Bond movie. They kept switching the tape.
Moving on. If you look in the final, the last page of item 13, you'll see.
This is the reason we don't let Bryce talk very much, okay?
It's change order number 1.
Okay,
And it
good.
outlines 5 inch, 5 each, 3 inch water meters. That's the meters themselves. So below that's 5 times 3 inch water meter installs. So that adds up to $9,000. That's something that we didn't really account for when we first placed the order.
So we come up 5 short, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we came up 5 short, or 10 short, depending on how you roll.
5 and 10.
He doesn't do our
So
accounting.
these are actual,
Keep him out of that office.
it's not just to sit on the shelf, these are actual going
Yes.
out, yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
But
Do we
you
have
should
any
put
extras?
There's some others, yeah, there's some gonna be coming off,
Okay.
because when, do you want me?
Yeah,
We probably
go ahead.
ordered 2 inch and we really needed 3, or something like that, so.
But there's several that, once we ordered in the original bid, we ordered for the number of meters that we currently have. Since that time, we have gone through and audited and places that maybe had a structure that's been torn down, or various reasons that there's a meter there that was shut off, that there's no need to put a meter back there. There's gonna be quite a number of those, and we're gonna be taking off a number of those, because we're not gonna pay to put a new meter in place until somebody at some time either rebuilds there or does something and we need it. So there'll be several coming off.
And this whole process has really been beneficial for us to really determine exactly what we have in the ground.
Any further questions? Okay, I have one question. Have we had anyone that opted out? Okay, because I was thinking if we ordered in this amount and we had 5 people opt out, then those meters are gonna be brought. brought back, so. Okay, item B, do we get a motion? Okay, you need a motion on item B.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Or roll call, please.
Calern,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Ahern,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
Wines,
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes. Item 14. Consider approval of a funding agreement with Stillwater Medical Center Authority pertaining to the medical health sales tax. Mr. Bryce?
Well, I thought I wrote a pretty simple agreement, and we don't have to go back into the sublease. The tax passed. And what we're really providing here, as you know, that section 6.1A was the provision where they could give us notice to discontinue inpatient beds. And what we're wanting them to do is not to change what they've been doing. And that's to operate the hospital as the hospital is operating. So, what this agreement says is when this money starts coming in September 1st, we're gonna transfer it over to SMC Perry. It can only be used in Perry. And that's one of the real things. It can only be used for services in the hospital here in Perry. And we pay it. We pay it all, but at the end, any difference they pay back to us, and we can use that for purposes consistent with the tax. Probably be used on maintenance and repair obligations. And it continues. It's subject to annual appropriation, so we have to annually appropriate it. And if they ever give us a notice, or if they ever move to terminate the contract, or if you don't appropriate it, or if they discontinue inpatient services, or they fail to operate an acute care hospital which provides emergency services, then at that time, we stop transferring it. So it's a guarantee of them to continue to do that which they're doing. Now, I mean, we certainly have a stake in this, and we can, we need to get together and we need to talk about the things that Mike, you've talked about, branding and the like. I didn't put all those issues in here because it's a funding agreement. I mean, it passed and we're transferring it over, but this is the basis of what we presented to the. I think what we presented to the public. And I think I did make it fairly simple, but we were trying to prevent them during this term from stopping them exercising that right. And, I represent another city where the hospital did exactly that. They decided that no more inpatient and they're going to stop doing it, and they gave the city that notice, and then the city almost lost its hospital. So that's the way I have set it up. It's open for discussion. I will tell you that we have, they're going to have to take it to their board. It hasn't gone to their board yet. If it passes us, it'll go to the board. We have between now and, they're not going to expect the first dollar until, September 1st. I mean, that's when the first dollars that time will come in. So if you want to continue it for further thought, this is the first time you've seen it. There's, really no problem with that, but, I did want to get it to you in plenty of time.
Hey Meredith, based on our recent trend, is $500,000 a year the ballpark of what 1% would look like, probably? Still on?
This is consistent with when we went over, Russ and I went over and spoke to Stillwater. We had a meeting with them, and this is the broad outline it's what we discussed with them.
So Bryce, what, do we have any accountability to know that the money that is appropriated to them is only spent in Perry?
There's a certification under the term, there's a certification that has to be done each year that by the chief executive officer of SMC that states that the purpose and the use clause has been followed. And I did stick that in the agreement, yeah. That would be it. You know, they're a public entity, they have a public audit. They're gonna have to show this money in. And I don't know, on an accounting standpoint, will they show it out? Will they show,
Well, materiality will probably mean that they don't show it down to,
they'll show it
Our
down to the
level.
purchase.
yeah.
I think I would
But-
look
but-
more globally.
But are you comfortable with that? Russ was comfortable with that language.
Well, Russ tends to be a little more lenient than I am.
Yes.
Does that surprise anyone?
Shocking.
What I was gonna say is that, the Perry Memorial Hospital Authority, which I sit on, and due to the fact that, Mr. Sebo left town, to go take another job, I've become the chairman of that board. And I've had discussions, this week with, Kyla, Golay, that at the hospital, and I've had discussions with Bryce, I had some discussions with Russ, and Dixie also. It's kind of a strange setup because Kyla Golay and Courtney, and I'm not gonna dare try to pronounce her name, it's Amber's little sister. They were the CFO for the hospital board, for our hospital board, and Kyla was kind of like the clerk. And it kind of starting to get weird for me because they're still trying to be in that capacity, but they're Stillwater Medical Center employees. So I asked, first I asked Kyla and Courtney if it would offend them if we try to take that job away from them. And they're like, Lord, no, here. And so Dixie has agreed that she would be our clerk. I don't know if there's a title for that, but the Meachams, Ben's, the authority really has no money. The city of Perry holds all the money, and every time Courtney needed something or the board needed something, we'd have to go through Courtney to get to Russ, and it just got really uncomfortable and hard to deal with. So now the Meachams are gonna be our accountability factor on the finances for the hospital authority, and Dixie will be our secretary, and it's just gonna make things a lot more comfortable for me. And so what I was getting at, the whole reason I was telling you is because all this funding that the Meachams will have total access to, you know, and they'll be able to monitor it and keep an eye on it for them. I think that's your new job, by the way.
I needed
That's what
another
Russ said.
one. I needed another one.
But anyway, I just wanted to add that, and I think this is a great agreement. We can pass it now, or, I mean, it's up to y'all, whatever you would like to do. I'd just like to get behind this, actually.
I'll make a motion to approve the funding agreement with Stillwater Medical Center Authority.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Fuller,
Yes.
Bond,
Yes.
Hager,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Morrow,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Stroll.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, item 15, any new business needs to come before the council this evening? Seeing none? Item 16.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Collier,
Yes.
Bond.
Yes.
Hager.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Morrow.
Yes.
Whites.
Yes.
Stroller.
Yes.